Hello and welcome. I'm Vijay Srinivasan. This is Talking Sense with Srini. For 4 years, Annamalai was the face of the Bharatiya Janata Party here in Tamil Nadu. He was known as a political rock star, aggressive, full of energy, and impossible to ignore. Today, that has changed. Annamalai has resigned from the party for a new political movement, what he calls is We the Leaders, which he says would become a political outfit later. What pushed him out? What's he building? And in a state that has resisted every third force experiment for the last 50 years, does he have a real shot? Joining us to discuss all of this is our editor in chief, Yes Srinivasan. So let me begin with you. Before we talk about the new outfit, I think we should discuss about why he in fact quit the Saffron Party, right? Because he was seen as the poster boy of Bharatiya Janata Party here in Tamil Nadu, and he was removed as the Tamil Nadu BJP president just ahead of 2026 elections there, and that's because of the alliance with the AIADMK, something that he has criticized out in the open. He said, that's in the best interest of the party that the BJP has to take on elections individually, right? Was the AIADMK alliance the real trigger for Annamalai to quit?
Yeah, so that's what it looked to most of us, that the real break point came at that point, following which he was actually kind of sidelined and removed from the post. He was also seen as somebody who's impeding the growth of the party. That's the expression Mr. S. Gurumurthy, the party, the RSS BJP ideologue, told in our interview, if you remember. This is what all of us thought, but in this press conference, what Annamalai held today, he has given a different version. He says he has been working towards it for last 18 months, which means somewhere in 24 December or somewhere about, he has taken a decision that he should leave BJP and launch his own party. I think around that time, I think 24 end or 25 early, he had actually set up two Narpani, what means good deed associations or mandrams, kind of forums to do
welfare
some
associations.
Yeah, welfare associations. He has set up two of them. So one in his home district and somewhere nearby. So that was also a clear indication that he was heading towards something. But nobody suspected till mid of this year, where many people started believing that, okay, there's something which is amiss, when he was specially asked to, step aside when the party went into this assembly elections. So that was a big away. Now, what was the reason which he has given, that why he chose to take a different path? One of the reasons he says that, please don't think that I'm leaving BJP because, I had differences. He says there's no personal difference, though it was believed that he had fallout with the alliance partner Edapadi. And if you remember, in 2024 parliament election, AIADMK headed by Edapadi chose not to ally with BJP, and that cost BJP very heavily.
That's right.
And subsequently, they were brought back into the tent, and then this time, when Edapadi was back, Annamalai was out. So it was very clear that there is something which wasn't right between the two leaders. But Annamalai denied all this. He denied all this in a press conference today, in today's press conference, and he said, "Look, I was only insisting right from the beginning, even before 2024, that if BJP has to grow in Tamil Nadu, it must stand on its own feet and it should grow on its own heft. It should not be leaning upon any regional party to make it case." But that's where actually basically a difference in strategy, I think, or a difference of opinion in strategy between him and the High Command. Because again, if you remember, in that same interview, S. Gurumurthy had pointed out that they wanted to revisit some kind of, Maharashtra model, where if you remember, BJP and
Shiv Sena.
Shiv Sena had allied, and Shiv Sena was the main principal partner, and BJP was a smaller ally. That was about 2 decades ago. But subsequently, what happened? BJP was in the commanding position. They were in the driver's seat, and Shiv Sena became a secondary party there. The fortunes reversed, and subsequently many things happened. Shiv Sena broke into two. All those things happened, and now they are literally nowhere. They're out of
Now
power.
they're planning to come back together. We don't know.
And BJP is in power.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a cycle happened there, and probably they thought that the way to grow in a state is to piggy ride existing regional biggies, which is what they've done in Bihar also. But I think Annamalai was completely opposed to that strategy. He wanted to build party ground up. That's what he's saying, and now he has embarked upon that venture today.
All right. He
From
also
today.
says that the movement that he's trying to create right now would also become a political outfit there. For 7 crore Tamilians today, we're already, this 2020 election had sprung a surprise because, there's a new candidate, Tamilaga Vetri Karagam, who's in, and they've been able to sort of create history by moving away from those Dravidian titans, both the DMK and the AIADMK, which in it will be seen as an alternative there, right? And here you have Annamalai once again talking about an alternative party there. So you think there is still scope for an alternative, a third force in Tamil Nadu?
See, the decision, probably Annamalai had for long been thinking of quitting BJP from his own press conference. But I think the trigger really came after this election results, where he realized that there was a space for him as well. Prior to the election, if BJP had really promoted him and if he had continued, he probably could have, BJP could have probably done, or the alliance could have probably done better if the leadership was offered to him, which it wasn't. I think this really speeded up his decision, and immediately after the election, he began to see that if TVK headed by Vijay could come to power, then there is certainly a space for another person to stand against him. I think he's heading for, or he's aiming for that space. Now let us look at what could be that political space. There are two Dravidian parties, as you know, AIADMK and DMK, and TVK has sprung a surprise by taking away, chipping away a portion of these two parties, and then also taking all other allies together. In social coalition, they have drawn a new coalition by taking along Dalits, Christians, and Muslims. This is a new combination, as opposed to intermediate castes, which are prevalent heavily both in DMK and AIADMK. And AIADMK also has support of upper caste, basically because of BJP. That's a combination. Now, if Annamalai wants to break into it, then he has to build a new social coalition. And probably what he feels is, if you look at social coalition, probably he wants to project himself as a nationalist with the shades of Tamil pride. So basically, it will still be a nationalistic appeal, not exactly the kind of nationalism with BJP speaks. It is not Hindutva-laced nationalism, but a different nationalism with Tamil identity built into that. That's a new experiment he wants to try, and he perhaps think that by this combination, if he can take intermediate caste along with him, and he could be a new answer to youthful and charismatic response of Vijay. I think that is a calculation.
I think the timing of this is also quite crucial, right? He could have started this, if he says, it all started 18 months back and all that, the trigger, I think he could have floated his party then, but, he chose to, float this movement and later the party right now after the 2026 elections there. So you think because he's expecting that there could be a lot of room for him to sort of, build that movement and, maybe that'll offer him a lot of scope for growth?
Yeah, exactly. So even in today's press conference, he was saying lots of thoughts which are coming to my mind are based on the questions you guys are asking. He was saying this. One of the questions asked was that what would be your relationship with BJP?
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm going to be equidistant from all parties, and I'm going to consider BJP as any other party. And I don't think, any political party is a friend or an enemy, each had to be dealt with professionally. He was talking a kind of a professional language, but the thing here is that why he hasn't immediately launched a political party and why he first want to build a social forum and then graduate perhaps to a political party is exactly this reason, I think, that he wants to figure out in these whatever time he gets, because obviously his aim is next assembly election, which is 2031. So he has 5 years to go. He has started his journey today, and he can take at least 1.5, 2 years to build the new coalition, and probably after that he can convert that into a political party. Maybe that's a calculation he has. And today itself, I'm told some 5 lakh members have, he signed up 5 lakh members. So I think that's what the route he's taking, so that he finalizes, shapes his, politics while he interacts with people, rather than taking a position right away.
Mm-hmm.
He perhaps wants to keep a more fluid position and then add on it based on the responses from the ground he gets.
And you think that's the reason why he started off it as a movement and later a political
Exactly.
party? Because he also says something very important here. I think I'll move away from the dynastic, which means I think the DMK and the AIADMK here, and then cult politics. I think which could be
Vijay.
Tamil Nadu Vijay. So and bringing in more of common people here. That's what he says. We the leaders, right? So is his whole idea of movement first framing a genuine ideological choice, or is he kind of testing public appetite here?
Well, if you heard his press conference carefully today, he was saying many things which very utopian in nature.
Mm-hmm.
He says now we want to build a corruption-free society. We want to bring in a lot of technocrats and give possible the best
I heard that,
administration.
technocrats.
We want to, he says, I want to bring in a lot of educated youth. I want to build a large, support base of Gen Z. But on the other hand, I also don't want to lose on, senior citizens. I would like to get them good park, at least they could have a good evening walk. So, he's throwing a lot of utopian things, where he says India, Tamil Nadu becomes the number one, from economic policy or industrialist, from industrial point of view, number one state. We do very well in education. So he has given a lot of utopian ideas today. That's something which he wants to achieve extraordinary governance. But one thing is very significant here. He talks about governance, corruption-free, clean politics, different politics, no dynasty, no hero worship, and therefore he decided that he won't launch the party on June 4th, his birthday, but the next day.
I know.
So he is saying a lot of things. He doesn't want cult in politics, all those things. But then, what shapes up, we really don't know. Many of these parties start with a very ideal, notions and ideal beliefs. But then finally, what happens to them, we have to see. One good example is AADMK Party.
That's right.
AADMK Party started entire movement as a anti-corruption party. Subsequently, they perished because of a corruption allegation against them. And then now they're trying to revive. But then they seem to be now a shadow of what they promised. And like any other political party, that's a fear. At what point of time, either because of trappings of power or otherwise, how a party finally takes shape is something to be seen. The other important point is that there is an interesting article today I read in a Tamil paper which indicated that this is not for the first time that many regional leaders who wanted to break away and launch their own political parties, and subsequently either they perished or aligned themselves or merged themselves with the principal party. There are a number of examples. One is, of course, P.T. Rajan, who's the first
That's right.
CM of, minister.
And even Chidambaram started his own party.
He went and came back. He was one of the founders of the party. It was actually launched by Mupanar, G.K. Mupanar. There are a number of such leaders who went out and then eventually came back. So that's also a question, what he does.
But how do you come back? You come back as Chief Minister like Yediyurappa does for the BJP in Karnataka.
Yeah, so there the situation is very different because in Karnataka he stepped out, but he was always an RSS pracharak right from the beginning. Not a pracharak, RSS, who believed in that stream, and then he came back. So you never know what happens here, but the only difference here is with BJP's ideology and Annamalai, he doesn't espouse the hard Hindutva.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have, he doesn't, from his speeches, you don't find those kind of hard Hindutva elements in his speeches. He does talk about the other issues which I mentioned, dynasty or, corruption and all those kind of things, but not so much emphasis on communal politics. That's where he slightly differentiates himself. But rest of the thing is all upper caste Hindutva formation. Whereas many of these things appeal to urban population. And then we must, one thing is very clear that after Vijay, today, if there is any, if there is any person who is very popular, is Annamalai.
And he also got the best CV. I think he's been an engineer, an IM graduate, an IPS officer. So
exactly. So he is extremely popular, only second to Vijay, and therefore we have to see how he takes.
But when you say forward. So, you think it's more trouble for Udayanidhi? Is it what you're saying?
Yeah. So that's that's another significant thing. Because there are three major youngsters, youngsters means here 50 plus. Vijay is one, Annamalai is two, third is, of course, like you mentioned, Udayanidhi, who's now the inheritor of DMK perhaps. And the fourth is, don't forget, Seeman.
That's right.
Seeman has also his own regional outfit. But he has taken hard, his Tamil sub-nationalism, which is very different from Tamil identity politics, which, Annamalai wants. He is more like Tamil sub-nationalism, which which links to the movement in Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan Tamil sympathy, Tamil all those kind of things. So he is a different shade. So I think Annamalai is also positioning himself for that young leader space.
That's right. But, one last question there. So, and what you said also reminds me of one of the early episodes of Talking Sense with Srini, where we sort of brought in all the four leaders will be the future of Tamil Nadu. I think Tamil Nadu is certainly moving in that direction. Our predictions were right in a way. So, the question is, you said that, he doesn't have the truly right-wing sort of colors in him and all that, but still there are sections of Tamil Nadu, that certainly sees the Annamalai through the prism of BJP, right? I think you think it's important for him to shed that image now to sort of succeed here in Tamil Nadu.
See, Tamil Nadu, one thing which doesn't work, which BJP has tried very hard, is kind of trying to polarize or communalize the politics. So, which they keep trying. So, that doesn't work here. So far, it hasn't worked. But then there is certainly a section of people here who believe that, Hindu first is not a bad idea in itself. They won't like communal politics per se, but then somebody who speaks for the Hindus is something which they would, prefer. Because their constant, problem or the crib is that there are people who speak for other religions, but there's nobody who speaks for Hinduism. But then they are not crystallized to an extent. They would go
Hindu
and take lead. Hindu khatre mein hai. That kind of line they won't take. Yeah. Okay. So I think he is trying to find that space.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Very insightful talking to you. Thank you.